Cold temperatures represent an important factor for the preservation of everything that can be decomposed. If not, we're sure you would need a refrigerator in your house to help you keep the food in good condition. However, the food you eat in your kitchen isn't the only one that can last for a long time if you keep it cold. This also happens with prehistoric animals, those amazing creatures that are currently extinct, but have made the scientific community go crazy after being found in the perfect condition under the ice. If you want to know a little bit more about this, come with us and learn more about these 5 prehistoric creatures found beneath the ice. But before we begin, make sure you hit the subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Prehistoric bird claw. Have you ever visited New Zealand? This is a giant island located very close to Australia that's featured by being a land of nature and unique biodiversity in the world. If you've never traveled to this place, we assure you that it'll be the perfect place to vacation in your next holidays. There you can find several types of birds without wings, and all of them are interesting enough to study. The kiwi, the takehe, and the emu are just some of them. However, thanks to the fossils collected by some researchers, it is said that in the prehistory, another type of bird called moa inhabited the place, a species related to the ostriches by their physical appearance. Its height was around 3 meters, and its weight was around 200 kilograms. The topic related to this creature had been forgotten, or at least it was until 1986 when a group of archaeologists who were carrying out an expedition inside a system of large caves on Mount Owen bumped into a rather strange and unusual object that lay frozen among the waterways. Despite the low visibility they had of the narrow, dark place, they immediately noticed it was a huge claw with traces of flesh and scaly skin. How about that? At first, they thought it was a dinosaur, but later accepted that it could belong to an animal that had recently died. The conditions of the claw made it look like that. Many of its parts were well preserved, which wouldn't have been possible otherwise. But when in doubt, they made some analyses that left them even more impressed. It turns out that the mysterious claw was 3,300 years old, and what they had found was the mummified remains of a bird similar to the ostrich. The investigations quickly showed the results, and they didn't take long to decipher that the species to which the claw belonged to was the prehistoric bird named moa, which had disappeared many centuries before the birth of science. How about that? Would you have imagined that something like that was possible? It was definitely a great discovery for modern science that created many speculations within the scientific field. And although some even claim that this species hasn't been completely extinguished and continues to roam around New Zealand, others prefer to keep their opinions to themselves and accept with excitement the achievement that Mother Nature has made keeping in optimal conditions a piece of so much value. Number 4. Baby mammoth. If you've ever had the opportunity to travel to Siberia, or on the contrary, you usually see documentaries that show in detail the way of life of its inhabitants, then most likely you already know this place isn't famous for having a tropical climate. On the contrary, the low temperatures make it an unlivable place, but no less fascinating. Due to this reason, it's not surprising they have recently discovered a woolly mammoth pup, 130 centimeters long and 90 centimeters high. Yes, just as you heard it. The finding was made in the Republic of Sakha Yakutia in eastern Siberia, after 2 reindeer herders found it near the bank of the Urubei River. The perfect state of conservation in the creature was the most impressive part for the researchers. It was even considered as one of the most valuable achievements worldwide. The small mammoth, baptized as Yuri, in honor of the shepherd who found it, had his eyes intact and the roughness of the trunk in excellent condition. Can you believe it? At first glance, it even gives the impression that he's still alive, although unfortunately, it isn't. The story behind it, thanks to the analysis made by the international delegation, is that the little mammoth was barely 1 year old when it died 10,000 years ago. Trying to recreate the scene, it's presumed this baby was running away with its mother to avoid being hunted before falling into a swamp or getting trapped in a crack until its death. A pretty sad story, don't you think? On the other hand, the only wrong thing they could find in the baby, despite still retaining some of its fur, is that it has no tail. Their frozen remains were transferred to the University of Tokyo, where a team of scientists, led by Suzuki Naoki, would determine the state of conservation of its organs for possible cloning. How about that? Do you think a successful cloning for this species is possible? Although to this day, we still haven't been given a specific answer regarding the case of Yuri, we agree that it would be quite interesting to be able to face the past that was already thought lost. However, human beings aren't only capable of creating life, they can also destroy it. Let's just hope that if they manage to do it, the life expectancies of these mammoths are appropriate so they don't become extinct again. Number 3. Mummified bison. Thinking of a bison is bringing to our heads the memory of Appa, the Avatar Aang's pet, in that popular animated series that Nickelodeon produced some years ago. Who could forget it? However, this time we'll talk about another species of bison, one that obviously can't fly. It's the steppe bison, one of the largest and most charismatic mammals that became extinct at the end of the Ice Age. That is approximately 11,000 years ago. But as our main mission is to inform you about those creatures that have managed to remain frozen in time, we'll tell you that some years ago, a team of researchers from the Russian Academy of Sciences in Moscow found one of these animals literally under the ice in eastern Siberia. The finding was published in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology. According to some scientists, it's the most complete frozen mummy of the species. Both its body and internal organs and blood vessels were in perfect condition despite approximately 9,300 years passing since its death. How about that? If human beings could be preserved in that way, we're sure there would already be a fairly long list of people who'd like to be awakened in the future. The experts also performed a kind of autopsy to assess what might have been the cause of the death of this creature. Its body looked healthy, so the curiosity to discover it did nothing but increase. It was there when they realized the lack of fat around the abdomen, which made the researchers think the animal possibly died of hunger. A sad story, taking into consideration the high temperatures to which the bison must have been exposed. Without water or food, no species would have been able to survive for long. Evgeny Meschenko, another of the scientists who is a member of the project of the Moscow Paleontology Institute, assured that good conservation of the frozen mummy will allow making anatomical comparisons with other modern species of the bison and cattle in the future. Even the possibility of clonation has been mentioned. What do you think? It seems science still doesn't have enough and wants to surpass itself. Number 2. Cave lions. It has already become clear to us that Siberia is the right place to conserve prehistoric animals under the ice. If you didn't know, in addition to the cold weather, this place has a type of soil called permafrost that stays permanently frozen and helps any body that is under the ground to remain in optimal conditions. This is why a couple of lion cubs from the caverns were found a few years ago on the banks of the Uandina River in Siberia, a subspecies known only from fossil remains and many examples of prehistoric art. Uan and Dean, how the researchers decided to baptize them, lived about 12,000 years ago and have now been considered the best preserved specimens of the species ever discovered. Can you believe it? According to some reports, these little brothers didn't have their first teeth yet, but they did have large paws and sharp claws, common features in this type of feline regardless of age. They measured 42 centimeters and their fur and legs, tails, ears, and whiskers were intact. By the way in which they were found, it's presumed that both puppies had remained for thousands of years in the same position. When the floor of the cave in which they were found collapsed, they were trapped forever in a crack in the ice. With only 2 weeks of age, it was impossible for them to escape. Had it not been for the collapse caused by floods during the summer in the Uandina River, thousands of years later, it should be noted, the researchers wouldn't have been able to explore those areas that had remained virgin so far. The freezing state was maintained after the discovery to improve preservation. What do you think now? Perhaps Mother Nature played its role so this finding wouldn't be hidden forever. We only hope scientists don't have the idea of cloning them. Thanks to the fossil remains, it's known that this feline was both huge and powerful. You don't want to imagine the possibilities of a creature with these proportions and strength walking through the city or near your home. Number 1. Giant dinosaur in block of ice. In the golden spot of our top 5, we have one of the most surprising discoveries under the ice of all times. At least, that's the way we see it. You can decide which one you like best, and you can also share it with us in the comments. This time, it's a frozen fossil capsule that was found some time ago by paleontologists working on the top of a mountain in Antarctica. The strange rock was extracted with the help of jackhammers, rock-cutting saws, and chisels. The work wasn't easy at all. The researchers had to endure the low temperatures for hours, but the result was worth it. After having dug 4,200 meters of snow, these experts managed to dig up the remains of what appears to be a new genus and species of dinosaur. Can you believe it? It's believed the creature lived more than 190 million years ago at the beginning of the Jurassic era in the area that's now known as Mount Kirkpatrick, very close to the Beardmore Glacier. And although various studies have tried to discover the origins of this new species, the event is still considered an unsolved mystery. In spite of this, some experts have ventured to confirm the dinosaur has been named Glacialosaurus hammeri in honor of the famous fossil hunter of Antarctica, William Hammer. A bone of the femur and an incomplete piece of the foot help to validate this hypothesis. However, other scientists don't agree and continue to conduct their own investigations. What do you think? Do you think it's the sample of an authentic new species of dinosaur? Or, on the contrary, belongs to a creature already known? Leave a comment below. Alright, Top Fivers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. But I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited TheFinestPost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you'll ever get to read?